Okay, so we're going to create another material now. This is going to be sort of, it could be used for concrete or it could be used for stone. Again, I'm going to use a tile texture that I've already created. I've already created a normal map for it, but this time we're going to look at how you can manipulate the texture tiling coordinates and just tweak some of the settings within the material using the material instance. So I'm just going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it stone material. I'm doing this to make it a little bit more organised in here, so I'm just going to create a new material. I'm going to call it stone mat. I'm going to open that up, and in the base colour I'm going to add a texture sample, and it's coming up with an error simply because I haven't put a texture in it. So I've already got one, I've already loaded one in called concrete. Okay, we can have a look at that texture in here. Also, another tweak is you can tweak the model that it's applied to by clicking on that little icon in there. As you can see, sort of a concrete texture mottled effect, and I've also got a normal map, so I'll just duplicate that texture sample, oops, and I'll just change that one to the concrete normal, and then wire it up to normal map. And as you can see, now another tip is you press L on the keyboard, you can move the light source around the object, and you can tell it's got a normal map because we're getting this surface, okay, which is saying that some of the surface is raised. You can see, look, and you can tweak the settings in here. Obviously we've got, just add a scalar parameter, so scalar parameter, just call that spec amount, so we can tweak it. Remember, we always need a little of spec because most things are reflective, so we'll do 0.11, and we'll just add a scalar parameter roughness, scalar parameter, and change the parameter to rough amount. As you can see, this is quite a matte surface, but we'll just tweak that a little bit. We'll just put that 0.3. Let's see what that light looks like on it. Just getting a few effects. Again, it's about tweaking these settings. You can see there's a slight tweak as you move around. That's okay. Okay, so we're going to look at how the UV mapping is handled. At the moment, by default, on this cube, that texture is being stretched across the surface of each of those sides. But we need a way that we can tweak the UVs or the texture coordinates. So we can apply texture coordinates. So let's just type in texture coordinates. So there's the texture coordinates. And if we wire that up, and remember, because we want to change the texture coordinates of the base colour and the UVs, we wire them both up at the same time. Okay. If you select the node, on the left hand side you can see the number of tiles. So at the moment it's 1, that means it's stretched across each surface. So if we do 2, you can see that it's been tiled twice in that direction, because you can see the sort of darkness on the texture. And if we do 2 on there, you can see it's been duplicated 4 times on there. So just by tiling it gives us more detail on the surface. Okay. Now the problem is we need a way to put a scalar value. Okay, so we'll just add another scalar parameter. Now this time we're going to need a vector 2, and I'll show you why that is. So we'll just do vector 2, and we'll turn that into a parameter. We'll call it tile amount. Now, because we only want just 2 of them, we need to mask the others out. So what we'll do is we'll add a mask, component mask, and we can mask out. So we just want R and G in there. So, tweak that. Okay. So this output will only output the values from those first 2 values into here. So we'll just put them 1 on 1. Don't worry about the colour changes. It's just it'll just take the values from now. It'll ignore those 2. So we're going to wire that up to the texture's coordinates. So we'll just revert back that to 1. And now what we're going to do is we're going to wire this up to here, and we're going to add to that. So in fact we don't need, we can multiply. So multiply. We need to wire up to there and to there. And then that value is going to go directly into there. So let's look at that now. Just make that a bit further. So we've got texture coordinates, which goes into the multiplier, which multiplies by these 2 vector coordinates. And we click on there. Okay. And we can tweak those in here. So at the moment, just 1 and 1 by default. But if we put 2 in there, you can see it's been multiplied twice by the parameter, and we put 2 in there. It's now been, we've got 4 on that surface. So now we've got a way to change the mapping coordinates inside here. So we'll just save that. Okay, so we've got our stone material. I'm just going to throw in a cube so it matches up with our object. I'm just going to drop that onto our object. Let's see what that looks like. As you can see, it's on the object, and it's got a bumpy surface as well, based on the normal map. But what happens if we want to tweak this? Well, we'd have to go inside the material itself. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a material instance, apply the material instance to the model, go inside the material instance, make sure tile amount is turned on, and also specular and rougher, so we can completely tweak all these values. We'll just bring that down and put that map up. Bring it over here so we can see. So now we can tweak the tiling. You can see what's happening. You can change the amount of tiling, and you can also tweak the amount of roughness on the object and the specular highlight. So you've got more control over how the texture coordinates look on the object. I'm going to show you now why we need to have that flexibility with the tiling. Let's say we want to change the shape, so we're going to stretch it upwards. So let's say it's a long column part of your building, and you can see what's happened is the texture coordinates have been stretched. So obviously, because we've got the material instance on the object, I'll just save the material instance, we can actually tweak the settings. So obviously that's changing the tiling along the vertical, so I'll just put that back to 1. Obviously it's been stretched too much vertically, so we'll just tweak that to, let's say, 4. And as you can see now, because it's a material instance, we can quickly tweak the settings, and that's why we can use material instances to change the texture coordinates of the object. Next video, we'll look at transparency.